welcome to the stream. We are ready to start, I guess. Yeah, how are we all doing? Keeping well, I hope. We're not doing wine tonight. Instead, I wasn't feeling wine for some reason. Probably because I've absolutely because I've tried all of the wine in the local Sainsbury's selection. So we've not got wine tonight. Instead, actually, let me sort out this camera angle. Instead, we've got some beer. So for anyone who's new to the stream, normally what we do is we'd have some wine and just chat, make some music, and then just chat about shit. We've got a new video out, so we can talk about that if we want. For anyone who's not seen it, it's on Ecoside. But let's start with the beer. The beer selection we've got right now. I've got three. I've got a beer and a cider actually. A Doom Bar. I like a Doom Bar. A nice amber ale, balanced and Moorish apparently. And what more can you ask for than balanced and Moorish? I promise I'm not angling to get any beer sponsorships. But if any beer sponsorship companies are watching, balanced and Moorish. I didn't mean to do that in such an advert way. Going, I'm looking at it. I was very much feeling a beer today. I held myself back from having one last night after the video dropped and during the video dropped because I wanted to hang out with the stream chat, and I didn't want to drink 2 nights in a row because I'm responsible, despite the facts of every stream. So first, let's start out by filling out this track. See what this track turns into. some it's a nice chill vibe to start on. That's fine. Thank you. I was very pleased with this last video. It's not doing well, but I was pleased with how it turned out. So I'm glad that people who are watching it are enjoying it, which is good. Hello, Me Panther. How are you doing? What pedals are we using? We're using a JTC drum loop pedal for the loop. We've got a hardwire delay pedal, mono synth, a Stompbox DS1 for the distortion, octave pedal, and a little chorus pedal as well. We've got a whole bunch. We got a whole bunch of pedals going on, but it's never enough. Never enough pedals. That you can always have more. Yeah, I was very pleased with how this one turned out. To the extent I'm thinking about extending it at some point into an actual academic paper, because I think it's worthy of that. There's enough there that could be worth discussing. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's picked up slightly now in terms of numbers. Let's have a look where it's at. But yeah, yesterday it was like, I mean, it's still not doing well. Yesterday it was doing very, very badly. Hopefully it will pick up. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of the it's probably partly because of not being able to post recently. So I do need to up my levels of posting. Partly because the job hunt is not going well. So we need to up the content production. I'm thinking of doing I'll put this to my patrons tomorrow. I've got a big backlog of book reviews that I've written for patrons, and I might go to that backlog and revisit them and just basically film and present those book reviews for the channel. But I'll put that to my patrons, because that's content I produce for patrons, and I don't want to undermine this stuff that they've signed up for stuff that's behind a paywall, and I don't want to undermine that by just giving away some of that stuff on YouTube. Sorry, I've just got back from the pool, so I've got swimmer's nose, unfortunately. But yeah, thinking about doing that to just add some more, get some more stuff put out on the channel in between these bigger projects. And I've also got a video on law and sort of legal, a very short video on like legal understandings of intent in genocide. Again, another joyous topic, but something very quick that I can talk about in terms of next videos, so I can produce that stuff and keep doing the bigger, more in-depth videos like this one. Hello, Ruben Abraham. I am doing all right. It's been a tricky week, I'll say. It's been a tricky week. I got a job rejection on Monday for a job that I was very much, which I hoped I would get an interview for, and didn't, and that was a bit of a hit. And then that same day and the day after, I got a bad stomach upset in terms of an illness, and it was like, okay, I think this week isn't going well. and then the video dropped and hasn't been doing great. So it's been a challenging week, I'll say. But on the upside, we're here now. We've got some beer. I'm going to see Dimension 20 live on Saturday, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. I am very much enjoying this beer. I had a nice swim today. I hit some fucking good gym PRs this week, so, you know, swings and roundabouts. We keep going. we keep going. I applied for a job at Cambridge today that I definitely will not get, but the applications are ongoing. Come a long way since I watched you walking around some scenery chatting about stuff. I remember I was thinking about that video actually. That was one of the first. I liked that video. That was a when I was walking around outside. That was a video on it's like related to the stuff we were talking about in the last video. It was about green, the environmental destruction produced by capitalism. And I was thinking about it the other day because I was back up in Scotland 2 weeks ago, and went on a walk with my mum and my sister, and the exact route that I filmed that video on a few years ago. And I think the last time that I'd walked that route was filming that video. So I was just thinking about that video the other day. I quite like that video. But I think this one was better. And I lots of good comments on my keffiyeh. A very nice keffiyeh in that video. Can chat inquire about the job? Sorry, I can't. The job, or is that no? I mean, you can inquire about the job if you like. As in, what inquiry? You can inquire anything. Sadly, the world is dying genre of video essays don't do well arithmetically. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the world is dying, a lot of that video is less the world is dying and more more people are doing genocides. There's a less of a focus in this ecocide video about global warming than there is about extraction, genocide, and herbicidal warfare in Vietnam. That stuff isn't particularly joyous either. But welcome to the fucking show. What was the job? The job was a position at LSE on teaching basically sociology of rights that they were looking for. They were looking for someone who had a specialty in human rights. It was in their human rights department, who is a sociologist, teach on one of their master's courses on human rights, who had a critical view of human rights and a sociology of human rights. And they wanted someone who had basically specific experience teaching master's students. All of my teaching experience is teaching master's students, because my university doesn't have undergraduates, and my whole research is critical views of human rights. I mean, one of my major problems with getting employed right now is that I only have one publication, and universities want more than one publication, even if you're a newly graduated PhD. And I have one publication in review that has just been sitting it's been sitting on. Peek behind the academic curtain. When you have something in review, it basically goes through editorial service, and the editors can desk reject stuff. In this paper that I've got in right now, it was desk rejected by Sociological Review because they didn't think it had wide enough appeal. It was about neoliberalism destroying human rights and social movements using human rights, but apparently that's not wide enough appeal. I'm not bitter, but they can desk reject it. If they don't desk reject it, it goes to peer review, and then after peer review, either major revisions, reject and resubmit, just reject. Minor revisions or so on. So this paper that I've had gone in so far, I've been able to see its progress through the portal, and for a while it was out for peer review, and now it's been sat in a waiting decision for about 6 weeks, and it's so frustrating because it's like, if it's major revisions, if it's minor revisions, whatever, if I can get that back, then I can get going and get actually dealing with it. But it's been sitting there in a waiting decision for so long, and it's so annoying. I just want to get it out. I just need another publication. I've got another publication. I've got another idea planned that I want to write. I've got like book proposals and stuff to do. This one's just been sitting there for fucking ages. It's so frustrating. Yeah, that's probably the reason that I didn't get a call back for an interview for that job. It was frustrating though, because I was around LSE on Friday after a conference, and I was just like, God, this I've never been around LSE before. I didn't realise it was so nice. I was like sitting around because, fucking hell, this is lovely. It'd be nice to work here. And then a few days later, nah, fuck you. Still, I've applied for another position that I probably won't get at the same university. So we'll see. We're ongoing. Mithro's saying, my friend recently completed his masters, and the lack of publications is a huge problem for him. I mean, masters, you would never have been expected to have publications with a masters. A masters isn't a like, not these days. Like, previously, unless you had an academic job, you weren't expected to have publications. This notion that PhDs and master's students that don't have academic positions should have publications is very recent. Like, that's not how things should be. Like, we were told at the start of our PhD that we should have 3 publications by the end of our PhD, but that's absurd. Like, that's an absurd level of work to do. It can take up to a year to get a publication through peer review. So it's just like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, this it's like a massive inflation of what you need to get a very basic level job. But I won't complain about that the whole night. I did embarrass myself slightly at that conference. Bougie gatekeeping as per usual. They always get the gatekeeping, and just like the amount of the additional levels of precarity and competition that have infected basically every industry. Academia is not special, but it's a similar sort of thing. It's just the academic equivalent of you need 10 years experience for this entry level job. Are there many journals you can submit? Yeah, there's plenty of journals. Plenty of journals about that you can submit to. There's loads of fake journals about. One thing that happens as soon as you got a publication out is that your inbox starts getting spammed with hundreds of like obviously fake journals. Things like they sound real. They're like Journal of Sociology Research or something like that. Something that's like innocuous. And they get you get like these call for papers, and the way, like, you can tell they're fake because they are so the websites are just so ramshackle, and it's like, you recently published a paper on neoliberalism. Would you like to contribute to our special issue on nursing in like South Kentucky with the Journal of Sociological Research? And you're like, this is definitely fake. And there's like, my junk inbox is like 200 emails deep with all of that. it's fucked. Do I like Depeche Mode? Not really. I don't think I've ever really listened to Depeche Mode. Were they not like kind of a bit miserable? Not that we are against misery on this channel, as we're all aware. No, I wouldn't call myself a Depeche Mode fan. Yeah, but yeah, I kind of embarrassed myself at this conference on Friday. It was a conference on actually organised by David White, who wrote the book, in part organised by David White, who wrote the book on Ecocide, Kill the Corporation Before It Kills Us, which is cited in the video, throughout, which is a really good book. And I was meant to be going with my supervisor, but he couldn't make it. I went to the conference, and afterwards we were having drinks, because that's the main reason for conferences for academics, is to have a wee bit of a piss up. It's supposed to be spreading knowledge, yeah. A wee bit of a piss up, isn't it? But there was like members of Extinction Rebellion there, talking about Extinction Rebellion have this thing about calling for a citizens' assembly on the climate and having the government be beholden to the citizens' assembly of the climate. And in my mind, it's an utterly bizarre thing to be like Extinction Rebellion, in my mind, do a lot of really good work. They've been really impressive movement building, some really good direct action. But this demand that they've got for a citizens' assembly on the climate, it just seems bizarre to me. It's like it's a weird bit of politics, where like you think, if you have enough power to pressure governments into creating a third house, essentially, a citizens' assembly, which then governments must abide by, why are we leaving in place all these liberal structures of governance in the first place? What we've already built a power to do this goal. It's bizarre to me, and they're obsessed with it. Every time I see Extinction Rebellion speakers speak, they're obsessed with this citizens' assembly idea, and I was like, it's weird. And so we were drinking afterwards, and as moments in the newest video have revealed, I have a tendency to sometimes put my foot in my mouth because I have a gob on me, and I like making jokes, and so I was careful. I was like, we were drinking afterwards, and I was like, no one here's from Extinction Rebellion, are they? No one's here. Just want to make sure. And everyone was like, no. I was like, oh, thank God. And then I launched into how much I find it bizarre that they're obsessed with citizens' assemblies. And I'd done this like fucking 3-minute speech on it. And then one of the people in the group was just like, I actually work for an organisation that promotes citizens' assemblies. And I was like, fuck sake. I was just like, I was like crouched down. I was like, I was so close. I was so close to not putting my foot in. I did the work. I was like, no one here is gonna care about this. No, cool. Then shit all over them, and then this person was like, yeah, that's my whole life is actually promoting citizens' assemblies. I was like, God damn it. Luckily, she was a good sport about it. I just couldn't believe it. It's a bizarre thing, like there's a difference between like local community power building organizations, where people come together within their group, within their communities, part of broader, movement building activity to, talk about things that are concerning about their lives, and to try and build political power in that way. There's a difference between that and citizens' assemblies as Extinction Rebellion are practicing them. And from what I hear, there is some contention within the organisation and how those should work, but how they've been promoting, how they've been talking about them, and every time I've gone and I've seen an Extinction Rebellion speaker talk about it, and how they talk about them on their website, it's fucking bizarre and useless, frankly. Mithra saying, went to a meeting with Just Stop Oil. The founder told someone not to bother asking questions as the meeting wasn't a democracy. That's funny. That's funny. Whoops. Yeah. Jasmine saying, because we grew out of the liberal society, the patterns of behaviour can be semi-conscious, leading to good radicals to the occasional citizens' assembly requests. I think that the push to have citizens' assemblies, the demand of a citizens' assembly, and they talk about citizens' assemblies for climate, a citizens' assembly for tax reform, things like that. The tax reform one really reveals the limits of the imagination of the group, and probably is a really good reflection of how the makeup of these organisations is quite middle class, or upper middle class, and very much lacks a systemic class analysis, basically, which is nothing new about saying about Extinction Rebellion, and it doesn't negate the good work that they do, and it doesn't mean they can't produce that, they can't move themselves towards more of that analysis. But it struck me when they were talking about it, because there was discussions in this where they were like, we need to, the climate movement is a lot about saying no, a lot about what we can't have and what we need to stop, but it's less about, often been less about what kind of world do we want to produce. And I think that's a really astute point. A lot of climate stuff is about no more oil drilling, no more this and that, and we do need to push a positive politics. But then the view of positive politics that was then pushed in this bit, immediately after saying this, was we need a politics of love, a politics of citizens' assemblies, and you're just like, what is entirely missing from saying what kind of world do we want to push is to a very basic left degrowth argument, or even a very basic third worldist Marxist argument about what we cannot have anymore is this opulent level of consumption. We can't have a society in which consumption is the measure of how we live and how we measure a good life, and through via extraction and fossil fuel consumption and things like that. We can instead consider a new life in which work is radically altered, in which we can have more localized food production, we can have more we can decommodify housing and healthcare and public transport, radically cut down on work life and all that stuff. That's a positive image of what a future can look like, and that feels more material. It feels more real than just saying we need a new politics of love where we have citizens' assemblies. And it struck me really hard, hearing this real confidence, correct thing to be we've got we need to push a new politics, a real positive politics to get movement buildings. Yeah, but just not quite getting there, and that's really frustrating. And I think that's what's so frustrating about the Citizens' Assembly's call, because it's it's identifying that there's a problem, and they identify that there is a problem with liberal political institutions, but just cannot quite get over the hump of understanding what the problem actually is, and just becoming communists. Have I heard of Client Earth? I think I might have heard of Client Earth, actually. I was gonna say no, but yeah. Ruckley says, we will organise the power of the people to rise up and very firmly ask politicians to behave. I mean, that is the most concise the most concise critique that you can level against these sort of organisations, and I think you're right. That's a good way to put it. Any thoughts on the cast review? Seems to be lacking in scientific rigour from what I am seeing. I have many thoughts on the cast review. Yeah, let's talk about that. So, the cast, for anyone who doesn't know, the cast review was a review by of literature, a supposedly independent review of research and literature on trans youth healthcare in the UK. And frankly, it's a fucking disgrace. It threw out its methodology is absurd. It threw out almost all the studies which did not confirm the prejudiced views of its author, the author of the cast review is someone who follows on Twitter several conversion therapy groups and anti-trans hate groups. So it's by no means being framed as this sort of this framed by media and by politicians as this independent review, impartial review. It's not. It is a review, heavily biased, transphobic review with the express purpose of limiting trans healthcare in the UK, continuing with segregation of trans healthcare and limiting it. It has such absurd moments in it, like essentially that it tries to make a claim at one point that there is a biological component to boys playing with trucks and girls playing with dolls. That's not a joke. That is a literal part in the report. It is a transphobic report, and it's being used to harm trans people. Labour Party has already in the UK has already said that they will implement the recommendations of this. These recommendations will hurt and probably kill trans people. Scotland just today has said that, like various NHS boards in Scotland, which is a devolved area in Scottish politics, it's not UK based, it's Scottish, have said that they are immediately stopping providing trans healthcare until they can review the CAS findings, which is obscene, just obscene in how as a bit of politics. It's truly awful. It's a disgrace, and frankly, any party, any individual, any left winger given it any credence at all should be ashamed of themselves and tarred in the brush of being transphobic. It is ridiculous. They throw out a bunch of studies on like trans healthcare because the studies don't have double-blind samples, but that is an absurd way to conduct medical methodology, because if you have two groups and if you're trying to assess the efficacy of giving, say, one group giving people puberty blockers, potentially medication which can potentially vastly improve their lives, first of all, you can't hide from one group. If you want to do it double blind, you can't hide from one group that they are not taking puberty blockers. That is not something that can happen. You cannot do that. So absurd on that level. Second level, ethically, it goes against so many ideas of medical ethics to deny people medication that they might need on behalf of a double-blind study. Medical ethics, medical research rarely does things like that, or if it does them very, very carefully and with very, very careful ethical oversight. Because to deny people potentially life-saving medicine, a massive medical minefield, an ethical minefield. So to deny research which doesn't do double-blind studies on this basis is obscene and clearly a reflection of a bias that the author wanted to produce. It is not a valid piece of research, and it should not be used to guide government policy. And the fact that immediately Labour's health politician, Wes Streeting, fucking snivelling little fucking worm that he is, immediately on the news saying that he's going to implement it. Scottish Health Board's talking about it now. It's absurd. It's completely absurd, and it is a reflection of the segregated healthcare system that the UK is running with regards to trans people. So yeah, that's what I've got to say about the Cass report. It's like saying you'll only look at double-blind studies of organ transplants. Many people have pointed such things out. Organ transplants, cancer therapies, things that if the standard of evidence that the Cass review was using for other medical procedures would mean that people would just never get the treatment that they need and would be dead. It's absurd. It's a completely absurd review. We're going to move on to I'm going to make another tune, but we'll talk about the cars and trucks things for a second after that, because it'll lead me into talking about Novara Media, and we're going to talk about Novara Media because they have disgraced themselves more than once this week. But for now, let's get another tune on the go. Not sure what sort of tune to make. That sounds nice. Let's try that. Let's see what we can build with that. Okay, we've got something, I think. Yeah, that's nice. It does sound kind of Midwest indie though, doesn't it? like that. That's nice. All right. So we're going to talk about Novara Media because we can't not talk about Novara Media. So for anyone who doesn't know, Novara Media is a left-wing media organisation in the UK. It's perhaps the only major left-wing media organisation, mainstream left-wing media organisation, with its contributors frequently appearing on the BBC and, being part of national discourse. For a long time, they have not been without controversy for a number of reasons. Thank you, Lean. I appreciate that. They've not been without controversy for a number of reasons, oftentimes boiling down to the behaviour of largely its founder, a man called Aaron Bastani, and to a lesser extent Michael Walker, who's one of the major talking heads. And the reason this is relevant, and we'll begin with this, was in relation to the Cass report. So last week, Michael Walker, one of the major talking heads, disgraced himself by talking about how actually, it's not actually that strange, the notion that boys, as the Cass report says, boys are predisposed to playing with trucks and girls are predisposed to playing with dolls. That's not that weird, according to Michael Walker, because evolutionary psychology has been showing that boys have a predisposition to play with things, whereas girls play with have a mothering predisposition. Now, very rarely in life do you hear the words evolutionary psychology without immediately hearing something that is absurd and immensely reactionary immediately following it. But this was a particularly absurd example because of course that's not true, because why would there be an evolutionary predisposition to trucks? Where in as supposed pure nature is the truck? The truck as it appears as we as primates swung through jungles, learning to negotiate the truck. Very, very smart thinking going on there. So that was a bit of a disgrace. I don't know. It's obviously in terms of more serious terms, Novara as an institution has been criticised for its relationship to reporting on trans issues. Aaron Bastani has promoted right-wing newspaper columns on particular trans issues, particularly Honour Oak, this area of London that was attacked by far-right protesters. I was at some of these protests. Nazis, Lawrence Fox and the likes, people wearing Iron Cross necklaces, actual Nazis. At some of these Honour Oak protests, people were attacked and battered, assaulted, and there were trans journalists who had written up about Honour Oak and had been very and there were trans journalists and other issues as well, trans journalists who'd written about the murder of a trans teenager. All of this good reporting that had been done. Aaron ignored that and instead promoted right-wing writers, right-wing newspaper outlets, and then their relationship with trans people in the UK has been fraught for some time because of these issues. So to have one of their senior figures, one of their talking heads, faces of the organisation, speak about the cash report in somewhat defensive terms, and defending one of its more outlandish notions, like there is some biological essentialism in how boys and girls play with trucks or Barbies, the sort of thing which takes you like half a second of thought to be like, wait, that doesn't make any sense at all. Even if you take the side that's like, oh, girls prefer to play with dolls, so maybe there's like a mothering, and it's like, no, that makes no sense. Boys, why, you know, I played with Power Rangers. Why are Power Rangers not dolls? They're also dolls. So these are just clearly categories, gendering categories that we've imposed on play that we then impose on children. This is like, think about it for half a second. So clearly there's like, so this is like part of a broader issue of distrust and poor work in relation to trans people. That Novara, and particularly senior figures and big figures in Novara, have been guilty of not actually engaging with the trans community and trans people who've been criticising them. Really bad at that. So that happened last week. Cut to this week, and there was a statement put out. Have I heard about what's happened at Columbia University? I have not heard about what's going on at Columbia University. I'll finish this story and then catch up on what's happening. So cut to this week, and there was a statement released by a Palestinian comrade called Mohammed El-Kurd, who released a statement basically criticising Aaron Bastani, the founder of Novara, for tweets he put out a few months back when he basically contributed to a attack on 3 Palestinian young women who had stickers of paragliders on their protests and their like bags on their jackets as part of the protests, the Palestinian solidarity demonstrations. These were people who had refugee status in the UK, and Aaron Bastani basically shat on them and said repeatedly said in comments and in replies that they were glorifying murder. And these young women were charged on terror offences, and their immigrant status, their refugee status, has been put into question. And Mohammed El-Kurd and a number of Palestinian comrades had been trying to negotiate with Novara, with Aaron Bastani, to basically say, apologise for how he behaved and to delete those tweets. Nothing major, just basic solidarity, basic dialogue with the group that you supposedly stand in solidarity with. They refused, and so they put this statement public. And the way that Novara Media, in general, as an organisation, has dealt with this has been horrendous. There have been some contributors who have been very good, who have basically been like, yeah, fuck this, we absolutely disagree with what Aaron has done, and we very much want to stand in solidarity with those like Mohammed El-Kurd and others who have been trying to contact us. It took Novara a day to get out a statement, or it took them a long time to get out a statement, at which point many of the contributors had put out statements. What Michael Walker put out a big long statement, basically saying that Mohammed El-Kurd were being ridiculous, that there's nothing to be criticised about, that Aaron did nothing wrong, and basically fobbing off, shitting on the people who brought the complaint. Then Novara put out an official statement, which was also horrendously worded. It was very similar to one that Aaron Bastani later put out. And so what's essentially happened is the whole organisation seems to be in disarray, because how can you claim to be standing in solidarity with a group if you can't even say a basic thing of, I apologise for my words, which could have been harmful to these people. And the statement said, Mohammed El Kurd statement said, that Aaron was working in collaboration with the British police to get these to basically impose a carceral response on these young women. And their response from like Aaron and from Michael Walker was like, oh no, clearly these were already viral pictures, and we clearly had nothing to do with it. And to say that we're collaborating with the police is ridiculous. Which, first of all, just doesn't get the point of the complaints. Secondly, there is a feature of UK anti-terror law, which is essentially that if a reasonable person can interpret something as terror offence, as glorifying murder and things like that, then it can be used against you in charging in court. And one thing that we know happens is that police will use people like left-wing media figures criticising folk like that as evidence to support that. So we don't know whether or not those were used, but there is a chance, and the fact there is a chance means that anyone who has a national platform on a left media organisation has a responsibility not to provide the police with such fuel to attack people, to attack vulnerable racialised people in this country. And to just deny that has any possibility of happening, because you, with your tweets, is just outrageous. Now, what Aaron has been doing is he has been comparing himself to Rosa Luxemburg and trying to make it out like it's some sort of cancel culture free speech issue, saying, he said, I don't think that employers should be able to dictate how I use how I tweet and how I use my free speech. Which is an absurd thing to say, because he's the boss. He is the employer. It's like if fucking Elon Musk, if someone was like, Twitter should get Elon Musk to apologise, and Elon Musk was like, I don't think Twitter should make me apologise for a free speech issue. Employers shouldn't be able to make me apologise. It's like, no, you own the thing. You're the guy, and it's like, it's completely absurd. It's an obscene reaction to what should be an easy thing to just fix if you had some fucking humility, and you weren't just a prick. Unfortunately, humility is, I think, the last thing that Aaron Bastani has. Yeah. I mean, I think I might have talked about this last time, but yeah, I had a very bad weekend of being harassed after. One thing he does is he always talks about increasing policing against social to police antisocial behaviour. He's talked about this repeatedly, and the other week there was an individual who was stabbed on a train. And he used this to basically say they need more policing on trains, more access to British Transport Police, and tied up with a notion of train guards who aren't like police. But he wants train guards to have more access to the police. And I was like, man, he just loves trained cops. Because he does fucking love trained cops. He loves increasing carceral responsibility for trained guards, and he loves having more of British Transport Police about, and specifically wants to talk about policing antisocial behaviour on trains. He basically he quote-tweeted me and shouted at me for that. And for days my mentions were filled with some horrendous homophobia, terrible racism, and idiots. So I'm predisposed to not like the guy. But even I was surprised by how bad the response was, and it, like, just on like a basic level. Like, if you're concerned about, I think the only thing that Aaron Bastani is concerned about is maintaining and growing Novara's profile as an organisation. I don't think he really cares that much about the movement or actually about movement politics. I don't think he's. I think what he cares about is growing Novara, growing that sort of career. And I just would have thought that like a very basic thing, if that was your goal, would be to have a real, just understand you could just apologise. Don't burn your bridges with the groups of people that you look to speak on behalf of in solidarity with. Don't alienate potential contributors, potential interviewees, potential audience members, potential subscribers, and all these people. Don't do that. It'd be a very basic, very easy thing to do. If your concern is building and maintaining your media organisation, very basic shit. But it just seems utterly like he's so arrogant and so pig-headed that he just can't apologise. So yeah, I wonder how Novara's gonna survive after that. The other things that they did, one of the worst things, a thing that still has not really been apologised for, was interviewing Peter Singer, the world's foremost eugenicist, massive name in horrendous ableist philosophy. One of the most well-known ableist philosophers. Horrendous guy. And they had him on and just sort of like nice to him. And they were just, they barely acknowledged, if they acknowledged at all, the mass amount of criticism from disabled people that this drew. And they were just like, oh, we would interview it, it's interesting things to say. It's like, no, you brought on a horrendous man. You didn't challenge him, and you introduced his work to a whole bunch of new people. His work, which is Peter Singer's work is not like, oh, there's interesting stuff and then he's ableist. His work is foundationally ableist. It is built on eugenics, ableism, and horrendous murderous politics against disabled people. Nothing, no response. A long line. And what this feels like, this latest sort of bout, that this statement from Mohammed al-Kurd and Palestinian comrades, it feels like the dam bursting on years of resentments and failures by the heads of those organisations, because they do good work, and that's what, and Mohammed al-Kurd is clear about that in his statement. Novara has done uncommonly good work in terms of Palestinian solidarity. They have good contributors, but as they say, having basic journalistic standards in a world of media which has no journalistic standards does not give you a pass to do all the rest of this shit. To have Peter Singer on, to have Matthew Goodwin on, something that Aaron Bastani was forced to apologise, probably by his colleagues. Matthew Goodwin is essentially far right figure, He brought him on and treated him with kid gloves. To shit on trans people and not deal with the community, and to treat Palestinian comrades with disrespect. It feels like a dam bursting of everyone just being like, that this is just enough. Actually, there needs to be a reckoning with this organisation. Something needs to happen because it's gone too far. Peter Singer, the effective altruism guy. That was another thing that happened. We'll talk about that in a second. Hello, son. How's it on? How's it going? Just dropping in before I play more Hell Driver 2. Lovely. Yeah, I was just on my anti-Novara rant. That is one. There are so many bridges that I have unfortunately burned in terms of left media. Jacobin's not going to let me write for them because I shit on them too much because they produce shit. Novara, I wouldn't go on, but they would never have me. Fucking Adam Conover won't talk to me again. Yeah, maybe I should stop burning all my bridges. Is Aaron like UK's Cenk? Aaron is very much like UK's Cenk. This isn't confirmed. That's not. Let's see. The rumours are that he did run for Parliament, try to get an MP, try to get Labour selection during the Corbyn era for an MP role. So like Cenk a bit. He is very much like the UK's Cenk. I think that is the most apt description of him. Yeah, so that's that. The effective altruism thing is interesting though, because the Centre for Long-Termism, I believe it was the Centre for Long-Termism, has closed down in Oxford because I believe in large part because Nick Bostrom was fired from Oxford because of being a massive racist. Nick Bostrom was one of the big figures of long-termism and effective altruism, and as it's sort of thematically similar in terms of arrogant people refusing to apologise and have basic sense when it comes to criticism that they've received, justified criticism. Because Nick Bostrom, emails emerged from him where he spoke about the genetic differences in IQ between black and white people, basically saying that there is a genetic basis of it, and thank you, Mithro. I didn't realise people could do that, but that's very nice. The memberships, memberships similar to Patreon levels, you get early access to the videos, and when I remember writing and stuff. What's that? Yeah, so he wrote these emails basically saying that there is genetic differences between white and black people in terms of IQ and shit like that. And when these emerged, he wrote an apology that was in some ways more racist than the originals. I can't remember the exact details of it off the top of my head, but he wrote this awful apology that was like, it was truly terrible, and was in some ways worse than the things that come out. And that was like last year or so, last August. And Now it looks like he's finally been fired from Oxford, and the Centre for Long-Termism has disappeared. Isn't that fun? One more shit fucking factory no longer existing. Because that they still have power. Like there's still like, a friend of mine sent me a job application for a research fellow position in Bristol University that was about long-termism and like finding the philosophical justifications for long-termism. He sent this to me because he knew it would annoy me. But again, it was one of those things. I was like, maybe I could take this fellowship and like just come to an inescapable conclusion that long-termism has no justifiable philosophical underpinnings. Could be a route to getting a job. Good. Bad week for pig-headed people who refuse to apologise about the terrible things that they've said and done. And maybe if Aaron stopped comparing himself to Rosa Luxemburg and showed some contrition, it might help. Sounds like the Centre for Long-Termism didn't plan ahead. Sounds like it. Sounds like Nick Bostrom didn't plan ahead. Long-termism is such an awful tech bro term. It feels like a parody of itself. It absolutely does. I couldn't believe when I did a podcast with the Left of Phil people, which is a good podcast, and we were doing long-termism, and they were like trying to, some of the folk in the podcast were like trying to figure out what the actual philosophical underpinnings, what the justifications were for this thought. Things like what do they mean by like long-term like value? What is underpinning long-termist thought when they talk about like increasing value, increasing well-being of humanity over time? And it was a great moment because I got to bring up William McCaskill's TED Talk. William McCaskill is like one of the major figures in effective altruism and long-termism, and he did this TED Talk about long-termism, where he uses this graph. He gets this graph up, and on one side of the graph is time, and on the other side of the graph is value, and then it just goes up, and you're like, and he's like, see how the value, see how the value goes up over time. Isn't that amazing? Value increasing over time, and then we can extrapolate this, and it's like a graph. It goes from 19th century value, GDP, I guess, is very low, but then the Industrial Revolution happens, and value goes up, and it goes up over 200 years, and then he extrapolates the trend of this value graph by 2 million years. By 2 million years, and is like, look at all the value that we can get over the next 200 years. Like, what if things continue the way they are over 2 million years? We'll have so much value. So we've got to try it. It would be an intellectually challenging thing to find the philosophical justifications for this pile of this absolute house of cards, this total like fucking pile of shit. Oh, the pictures of it's one of my favorite. I think I was gonna repost, if I hadn't just posted the video on Ecoside, I would have reposted the effective altruism one when I heard about the Nick Bostrom news. It's one of my favorite jokes in that whole video. There's a thing in effective altruism. If you haven't seen the video, there's a sort of idea within its movement building that's like a funnel effect. They describe it as a funnel effect, and they draw out this triangle. It's like, introduce people, and they get more and more invested. They get more and more access to power over people further up the funnel. The further down the funnel they go, it's like, okay, this is a funnel movement. And if you just flip it round, it's a fucking pyramid. They've just created a pyramid scheme. It's fucking incredible. It's an incredible moment when you're reading this funnel thing and you're just like, they've created a fucking pyramid scheme. They've created a philosophical pyramid scheme. And then it gets less fun because you start reading about the culty behaviour that's sort of endemic within effective altruism, and the sort of stories of sexual assault and like attacks against anyone who comes out against effective altruism, and then it becomes less fun when you start to reckon with the real implications of the fact they've created a philosophical pyramid scheme. But I just couldn't believe it. So anyway, let's hope that that's a fucking fad, academic and tech bro fad that will disappear soon, to be replaced by whichever next fucking fad occurs. Well, it's been going on for a fair. I remember when I was an undergrad, they were talking about effective altruism and talking about, like, the best thing you can do is for the world is to become an investment banker and then funnel your wealth into charities, which is great. That's really smart. Well done on creating a philosophy that doesn't challenge any power. You're so fucking New Labour. Doctor Who Adventures 2. I feel like the soy jack has become a right-wing symbol because of how overused it is. I don't know what that means. Isn't it just trickle-down economics repackaged? Some of it is. I mean, no, it's not like there is trickle-down economics that's like repackaged, that's there, and like the stuff that Bill Gates loves about effective altruism is like, he gets to create marketized areas of farmland and like basically create a new type of what's the word? Enclosure movement in Africa through his marketized farmland expansions. That's very much sort of trickle-down economics kind of thing. But then there's the stuff that's like really built on like an even more morally and intellectually bereft form of classic liberal philanthropy, all of which essentially justifies the wealth of the people who give it away, because you gain the wealth, then you give it away, so there's no real issue in systemically challenging those people for the wealth they've got, and in fact actually gaining that wealth in the first place is a goal to achieve. So some of the more trickle down economic stuff is actually one of the examples. I couldn't believe it when I read it in William McCaskill's first book on how to do good better, where he talks about one of the most effective ways to fight global warming, to relate it back to ecocide. One of the most effective ways to talk about to deal with global warming was, in William McCaskill's view, carbon credits. And he goes in this big discussion about how you can actually offset all the carbon you use by just doing carbon credits, do marketized carbon credits. That is trickle down economics. You're expanding markets into this new area for carbon credits and to deal with global warming. And when I told my supervisor this, Damien, as featured in the ecocide video, he couldn't believe it. He was like, like it's never been thought of as an effective way of dealing with climate change. It's been discredited and rubbished so many times from its inception. It wasn't like something that people thought was good and then thought was bad afterwards. They're like, no, this was always bad. And there's been plenty of analyses of carbon credits that have just shown that it's allowed the continued destruction of and the expanded destruction of areas like the Amazon rainforest. by just, buying off and offsetting the destruction you're causing through this completely obscured, abstracted method of carbon credits and carbon capture. But this is the sort of thing that the fucking great minds, the neoliberal minds of the effective altruisms and the long-termists come up with as like, oh, this is how we make the world better. Markets. More markets. Isn't that revolutionary? Effective altruism is secular divine right of kings type shit. It is kind of like that, I think. A lot of it, something I didn't get into in the video on effective altruism was how, despite the fact that a lot of the effective altruists there's a crossover between effective altruism and the sort of new atheist sort of groups. But, ooh, surprising. Young, white, privileged, wealthy men who think of themselves as vaguely liberal are into both new atheism and effective altruism. Amazing. But like new atheism, there's a deeply sort of Christian idea, a Christian ethic that's embedded within effective altruism. That is consistent throughout a lot of like liberal philanthropy as well, and it kind of and it just ends up justifying colonial wealth extraction and the position of the global north as dominant over the global south in terms of extraction, in terms of economic exploitation, and in terms of just like, oh, we have the wealth and we will give you the wealth, we will deign to give you that wealth to help you, and because of that we are good. Someone asked if I played Disco Elysium. I played like 10 minutes of it once, but I've not played it. It's a game that I've been meaning to play, and maybe I'll get round to it more later, but I haven't played it. Alright, I am going to grab another drink, then we will come back and make a new tune. Any questions or anything, put them in the chat. I will be back in a couple minutes. we're back. We've now got a hobgoblin. I like a hobgoblin. Again, I am not sponsored, but if beer companies want to give me money, I won't put you in my videos because that would be too dystopian for me. But if you want to send me some free beer on stream, I'm not going to say no to that. Give me beer. No, I'm not. I won't look up stuff going on. Well, streams going on. I won't react to stuff that I don't know what's going on. Because that would be against the ethos that I try to push with the channel. So I won't look up while I'm on stream. But no, I've not heard about what's going on. All right, let's get a new track going. See what comes out. What are we thinking? Just now at the Peter Singer part, didn't know all this. I'm glad I pegged him for an idiot after reading his paper. Famine, affluence and morality. Yeah, not a good man. He is, I would call him a bad man. He is a bad person who writes bad stuff and should not be cited. He's a eugenicist. So here's the thing, I kind of like this, but I don't think it'll be nice to sit with this while we're chatting. So I'm going to make something a bit chiller, and we can sit with that while we're chatting. That was a fun distraction, but we need something a bit more chilled out. Come for the analysis of neoliberalism, stay for the jams. Exactly. I mean, that's the whole point of these streams. Just a chat, and wait for me to say something that I will regret in a future video. Martin texted me, by the way, for those who've seen the video. Martin texted me to say thank you to all 42,000 new friends that he's got. So I told him welcome to the cult, and yeah, we're all friends now. Okay, we've got something. There we go. I like that. That sounds like it would be something good to chat to. Let's see if I can not overdo it. That sucks. Thank you. There we go. That's good background music. What were we going to talk about? Was there anything else we were going to talk about after this? I've done my Novara rant. Spoken about the last video. Spoken about effective altruism. Was there anything that anyone else wanted to chat about? About fucking anything that's going on? Anything that I missed? There's one thing. I was gonna on the one of the reasons why I wanted to do the why I thought that the book reviews might be a good idea for filming. The reason I was thinking about it is because I did do a review of Bastani's book, Fully Automated Luxury Communism. It was bad. It was a bad book. It was a really bad book. But that might make something good to film. But yeah, I'll put that to patrons tomorrow. If there's see what they think about turning those book reviews into videos, just to add some more stuff to the content mill. My favourite genre of cake? I don't know. I like a lot of cake. I'm a fan of cake. I tell you what, a cake that because it's easier to pick cakes that I'm not as big a fan of, and I'm not a huge fan of chocolate cakes. I think they're too much. They're often too dense, and they're just too sweet. I make a really good Victoria sponge. I always add a bit of lemon and a bit of maple syrup to my mix in a Victoria sponge, and a bit of vanilla when you're making the cream. Whisking up a nice buttercream, adding a bit of vanilla to that. It gives it a really nice flavour. So I can make a good Victoria sponge, and that's always nice. It's a classic. But yeah, my auntie makes a really good lemon drizzle cake. I've not had that in ages. So that sort of answer your question. Was there any show or anything I watched recently? Devil's Food Cake is good. Devil's Food? What's that? I don't know what that is. Trying to think if there's any shows or any movies or anything that I've watched recently that are worth talking about. I've not watched that. I was thinking about watching the Fallout show. I like a cheesecake, but they're often too much. They're often just too dense and too much. So yeah, whoops, that's too loud. Sorry. Yeah, I like a cheesecake, but it's too much, I think. Bubbly chocolate cake could be quite good. You know. I am turning 30 soon, so maybe I should think about what cakes to have for my birthday. Yeah, man, turning 30. That's great. What a great time. I was hoping to have my career started by the time I was 30, but seems that probably won't happen. Did I watch The Way on BBC? I did not. You know what I did do though? I read has anyone heard? Every time I talk about this, there's like a clip of a like romantic comedy satire movie with Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler in it, where they like meet in a bookshop and they're like, one of them's like, you read fiction books? Yeah, I love fiction books. They're my favourite kind of books. And I recently read a novel for the first time in ages, and I just feel like those people in that movie, just like, oh yeah, fiction books. Fiction books are great. I mean, I'm enjoying. I read The City in the City, the China Melville novel. It was fucking brilliant, honestly, so good. And I would recommend everyone reading it. It was just great. What a fiction book that was. Dense thematically. Like I read it in like 2 days. Just tore through it. Thoroughly recommend it. Isn't YouTube my career? If it is, it's going great. YouTube, I like making YouTube, but it's not a stable career, is it? It's not something that you can survive on long term. I loved The City in the Sea. I'd read The Kraken, the China Melville novel The Kraken, a few years ago, and that was fucking brilliant. I thought the protagonist was quite interesting. I thought he was more interesting than he should have been for the character he was. Oh yeah, someone was recommending that to me, the way about Port Talbot. Was it? Might be my supervisor was recommending that to me. Yeah, I might get round to watching that. I do want to watch, and just relatedly, I do want to watch The City in the City. We can talk about this for a bit. I wanted to watch the BBC dramatisation of it, and I assumed it would be on BBC iPlayer because the BBC made it, funded it, and produced it and broadcast it, but it's not there. They took it off for some bizarre reason, and I've found out that I found out that the BBC has just been getting rid of so many of the things that it actually makes and produces from off of its iPlayer, from off of its repertoire of things that it should. It's bizarre to me. So many things that the BBC makes. There's documentaries by various people, interesting things, interesting series that they just don't put on BBC iPlayer. There must be some bizarre rights thing, but it's like if there's one thing that the BBC should do, and what BBC iPlayer should be, is just be a repository for all the things that the BBC has made. And it's utterly bizarre to me that they don't have that. They just don't put all this stuff that they've made on BBC iPlayer. It's just bizarre. So the actual selection in BBC iPlayer has just gotten worse, and I suspect it's because my suspicion. I have no evidence. My suspicion is that through privatising and marketising the BBC, marketising it more so than privatising it, but it's been marketised increasingly. They've been selling off the rights. I suspect they've been selling off the rights to shows and movies to different studios and different people to broadcast them, and those have been done with terrible deals that mean they can't have them on BBC iPlayer, which is absurd. It's a free service, taxpayer-funded service. We all pay our TV license, and we all answer the threatening letters that we get from TV licensing. It would just make sense if iPlayer just if they made and broadcast things on the BBC, the iPlayer would have it. It's really strange that they don't. Sean Richards saying, "See, it's weird I still can't get into fiction books, but started by first D&D campaign, and I'm all down for the roleplay." Yeah. I reading fiction is amazing for me, because it's like I read a lot of books for my job, and it's, I like reading, but it can be hard work. And then I read a fiction book, a phrase which it just makes me sound like a child. I read a fiction book now and then, and I'm just like reminded, like, oh, it's actually a fucking joy to read. You forget you're reading, you're just absorbing. It's fucking brilliant. So what I've decided to do is just be more proactive in that. I need to read Barbara Kingsolver's new book. Barbara Kingsolver, who wrote The Poisonwood Bible, which is a phenomenal book about American missionaries in Belgian Congo as it's going through decolonization, and it's told from the perspective of all the women in this family, the mother and like 5 daughters, I think, and no perspective from the father, and it's told by the varying perspectives of these characters as they grow up through decolonization, as they are missionaries in Belgian Congo, and it's fucking brilliant. It's one of the best books I've ever read. And she wrote another great book called The Lacuna, about a mixed heritage indigenous Mexican and white American child, and it's sort of his life story as he grows up and becomes starts off in America, moves back to Mexico, meets Frida Kahlo, ends up becoming Frida Kahlo and Rivera and becoming part of their group, then ends up meeting Trotsky and like becoming friends with Trotsky, and then is like there when Trotsky's killed, and then goes back to America, and it's like obviously he's a communist because he's spent his life around Frida Kahlo and Trotsky, and he becomes a novelist in America during McCarthyism, and he's also gay as well, so he goes through like double witch hunt of like being gay and being a communist and McCarthyist America, and then like that's the story of his life, and that novel's fucking brilliant as well. Two great novels. Then Barbara Kingsolver's got a new novel out that I want to read as well, and then there's some more Ursula Le Guin stuff that I want to read, and someone that a mutual I know is very good, big on like promoting lots of authors from the global south that I want to read as well. So I'm using my Kindle only for fiction from now on. I'm going to keep a separation in my life between the books that I read for work and fun books. That's the plan. Oh, Ian Banks. I've read Ian Banks. Ian Banks wrote Quit, I believe. So is that Ian Banks? Yeah, Ian Banks wrote Quit. So in my final year of high school, I wrote. This is one of these stories that, looking back on, I'm like, how did I not clock that I wasn't strictly straight? I did our advanced higher English in Scotland works where you have like, one of the major things you do is produce a dissertation. It's like 10,000 words, 12,000 words or something. And I chose, and you can basically choose any novels and choose a theme and basically write a dissertation on it. And I chose The Poisonwood Bible, the Barbara Kingsolver book I was talking about, Ian Banks' book Wit, W-H-I-T, and Orange is Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson. And I compared these novels as examinations of female characters who have interact with sexuality, their own sexuality, and with the male figures in their life within heavily religious atmospheres. Because of Jeanette Winterson's Orange is Not the Only Fruit, story of a gay woman, gay teenager, who is from, like, her mother is deeply conservative religious, and it's a story of her sort of realizing and coming into her own sexuality. Wit is about a female, a woman who's sort of seen as a kind of it's been a long time since I read that, but like a sort of chosen one of this cult, and she leaves the cult, goes out of the cult, and interacts with it, and that negotiates with it and with the world. And then obviously on the Poisonwood Bible, there's different notions of sexuality. It's not all just queerness, but different sexuality in relation to the dominant ideas of sexuality, told through these heavily repressive, religious, domineering patriarchies. And I sort of compared those three books in my dissertation. So yeah, I all of those were great books. I really enjoyed them all. Wit's the one I remember least, because the Poisonwood Bible I think I've read 3 times or so, because it's just so good. And I read Jeanette Winterson a few times, but that's one of those things that I was like looking back on and thinking about now and being like, yeah, it's weird how I didn't clock that I identified to some extent with these with these various protagonists questioning their sexuality. Most cishet dissertation. I did really well in that dissertation. Got the prize for the school for that. So thanks, cults. Jasmine's Craft saying, I just read The Ones Who Walk Away from what's it called? Omelas. Yes. I've been meaning to read that one as well. I read Ursula Le Guin's The Word for World is Forest, which is a really short book and is really, really good. I really recommend it. You can read it in an afternoon. It's really short, but it's such an interesting book. Not without flaws, but it is really interesting as a story of violence and colonization and dehumanization and everything. It's really fucking good. How do I decide which fiction books to read? I don't know. Because I read so few. The reason I picked the China Melville one is because I've just been meaning to for ages. My brother's a big China Melville fan. I read his China Melville's History of the October Revolution was really, really good. It's really cinematic. He's a fiction writer, so he knows how to craft a narrative. And Kraken was brilliant. Kraken was such a page turner of a book. I don't know. I just see people who are interesting. So yeah, that's the plan, to read more fiction. I do feel like I don't want to become a stereotype of that kind of that kind of man who doesn't bother reading any fiction and only reads boring books. It's a very clear stereotype. What else? I feel like I I really blasted through all the things I was going to talk about early on in the stream of the with the fucking video stuff and Bastani stuff and Novara stuff and the cast report as well. I need to watch. What I need to do is watch another terrible show, and then I'll have like something to really rant about on stream for a good while. I'm looking forward to Doctor Who coming back. That'll give me something to talk about, whether it's good or bad. God, I hope it's good. I really hope it's good. Because I will be immensely disappointed if it's not. Well, you know what? There was something that was quite funny. I say funny. There was a. Has anyone ever heard of the character Rachel Riley? British people will know, but folk outside of the UK might not. So there was obviously this horrible, horrific. anything on broadcast television. Yeah. I was thinking about watching. My flatmate's watching Attack on Titan. I've never watched it. I was thinking about watching that because the bits and pieces that I saw of it looked quite fun. Yeah. So obviously, recently there was a really horrific attack. Horrible attack by a misogynistic Australian in Australia, who murdered some people. White man, yeah, Rachel Riley from Countdown. He was a white man, a misogynist. So Rachel Riley, famous racist Rachel Riley, tweeted out after this had happened, before she knew it was a white man, tweeted out this big long thread about how, essentially saying that a Muslim, that this is the result of people going out on the street and calling for intifada revolution and supporting Palestinian solidarity, and basically implied that this was, or maybe just said that it was a Muslim man who would have killed these people, and obviously it wasn't. It was a white misogynist who did it, and Rachel Riley did this big long thread, big long tweet, extended tweet, because she pays for Twitter, because all the best folk do. And it was horrendous. Like, it was truly a repulsive thing to do, and obviously everyone picked up on it. It was like, Rachel Riley should apologise. Channel 4 News should investigate this clear racism. Basically, just jumping to a Muslim person murdered these people. So this is just massively racist, hugely racist. Something that is clearly a disciplinary offence within an organisation to write a massive racist screed. And her response was, people are misunderstanding me. Misunderstanding what I'm saying. She didn't apologise. She was just saying, people are misunderstanding me. And there was a really good headline in The Independent that said, I'll read what it said, and I'll tell you where the quotation marks were after it. It said, it was something along the lines of, Rachel Riley sorry over racist comments. Now, a lot of the time when you see headlines like that, what you will see is Rachel Riley sorry over racist comments, and then the quotation marks will be around racist comments, implying that there is questions about whether or not it's racist, implying that it's like, an idea that racism, that this is something other people are saying, that the newspaper isn't saying that. Instead, the Independent put Rachel Riley, quote, sorry about racist comments, no quotes around racist comments, implying that Rachel Riley is, of course, not sorry about her absolutely racist comments. A rare sort of good headline from the British media, which so rarely happens. But of course, nothing's gonna happen. She's gonna maintain her position, because if you're a white lady, you can just who's popular on game shows, you can just be racist all the time, constantly, very publicly, and face no repercussions about it. Like this, it was just horrendous. She's been a massive basically a hate figure for a while now. It's been massively racist. Jasmine's in Australia, and the media scandal was huge. Front page of every paper. Murdoch owned like 70% of the print media. Talking about Murdoch, that's another thing. Deb Hill saying, is she? That's 8 out of 10 cats repeats 4 times a week. Basically, got my mental health through the first lockdown. Yeah, I can't watch. You can't watch her anymore because, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying one cannot, because I just know how straight up horrendously racist she is. She's a real bad person. Not even like a oh, that's an odd comment. She's a committed racist. Real bad person. Unfortunately. And on Jimmy Carr's also on that show. He's a fucking racist as well. There was another talking about the Murdoch press. I don't want to hear another good tidbit about British. This is a bad tidbit about British legal systems. How bad things are in terms of our legal system. So, talk about the Murdoch press. Hugh Grant, the actor of Paddington fame and the Dungeons and Dragons movie, the two of his two biggest roles, he has been suing the Murdoch papers for several years now because they allegedly burgled him, tapped his phone, spied on him, stalked him, broke into his flat, all this stuff during when he was slightly younger. They basically harassed him, burgled him, all of this, and he was suing them, and he's had to drop the lawsuit because and this was something I didn't know how bad this was in terms of the law, but Hugh Grant has been forced to settle the lawsuit, not because he wouldn't win, but because Murdoch's team have offered a substantial amount to settle. And what and he said in his statement, he doesn't want to settle, but it means that if he goes to court, and even if they win, if the damages offered by the judge are even a penny less than what was offered in the settlement by the lawyers, by Murdoch's lawyers, then he is liable for the entire legal fees of both sides, including the immensely expensive lawyers that the Murdoch team was holding, which he racked up to about £10 million. So even if he wins this lawsuit against Murdoch, which he imagines he would have, he would still be liable to pay. So this is, I guess, a tactic that people like Murdoch and big capitalist presses have been using to stop scandals reaching trial, is settling for large amounts of money so that even if they lose the court case, the victim and the person who wins is still liable to pay for the fees, because the judge would not would not order the defendant to pay those amounts. And that is just that absolutely, that shook me when I read that today. What an absurd legal system. What an unbelievably unfair system. How untouchable people like Murdoch are because of their fucking money. So good on Hugh Grant. He's taken obviously settling because he can't afford the risk. Even Hugh Grant, someone who's having a resurgent career, can't afford to settle if he doesn't get awarded the damages, less than the settlement amount. Even he can't afford that. But he's going to plug it back into an organisation that's basically trying to act as a watchdog for the media, which of course shouldn't be. That's not something that should be taken on by a NGO, by an organisation like that has little oversight. It's absurd that our media landscape requires it. And it sort of goes to speak to how, going full loop, how terrible our media landscape is in this country, from right to fucking left. The only way to solve this is to nationalise lawyers. Or I know, maybe. Actually, I'm not going to say that. That could open up to legal issues. Deal with Murdoch-owned press. I mean, Murdoch shouldn't be allowed to own any of these presses, and his ownership has been a detriment on all of the press in this country. Fucking horrendous. I don't know. Sean, what was his name? John Richardson. What was the other one who was on 8 out of 10 Cats? Sean something or other. He seemed like a good egg. He seemed like a good egg who wasn't, terribly racist. So yeah, great stuff from our media class. Well, let's make another tune. Sean Locke, that was it, yeah. Poor Sean Locke. Let's make another tune, and if anyone's got any thoughts, and if I think about anything new to say, we've got another half hour before we'll pack it in for the night. But I'll come up with a new tune. See what we come up with. I'm feeling disco again. Jimmy Carr is a real shithead as well. Like Jimmy Carr's tweet today that was like, or yesterday, whenever, and promoting his Netflix show, like, I just want to preemptively apologise for anyone who's offended. It's just like the most tawdry fucking shite comedy out there. Oh, you might be offended by my comedy. I just want to apologise. It's just a joke. Don't be. It's like, oh, man, it's like the people are still doing this after James Acaster did his too challenging for you bit. It's just like, it's absurd to me that anyone's still trying to do that when obviously the only thing you can hear is too challenging for you. It's fucking, how shit a comedian do you have to be? Netflix should, I think Netflix, we should nationalise Netflix specials. Everyone gets their own Netflix special. And everyone gets a chance to do what their Netflix special says. And, you know, everyone's going to be, except with the one condition, if at any point you say, oh, is this too, are you going to be offended with what I say? You're out. One strike and you're out. That's my most authoritarian take, is that we should nationalise Netflix specials, but if anyone makes a joke about someone being offended, you're out. Out completely. Done. You're done. Completely. That's you. That's my... I was at a live show of Trash Future, a live show at the... a few weeks ago at the home of Comedy Unleashed, which is where Graham Linehan, famously divorced Graham Linehan, does his transphobic stand-up these days. And it was very funny because, Trash Future, Riley and November and all that were just like, you can't tell us to leash our comedy. This comedy is off the leash, and if you do anything to stop us, that is leashing comedy. It's also quite funny, because I didn't realise this, but the location for Comedy Unleashed is across the road from, like literally across the road from, like the major hub of left-wing political organisations in London, which I just think is quite funny. That'll be the last song that we'll make for the evening because I like it too much. Yeah. So basically, what we've learned from this stream is that we should nationalise Netflix specials. That's the goal. That's what the revolution is going for. We could intellectualise this and turn it into, make a point about how culture in this country has been systematically gutted, especially over the last 50 or so years, as arts funding, music funding, funding for music lessons in schools. The reason I can play guitar is because of school funding for music lessons, the gutting of a university education, the introduction of tuition fees, the increase in rents of student properties, which have stopped people from accessing the arts, in many countries, as well as neoliberalism has expanded across the globe and gutted any ability for anyone who isn't from the upper echelons of class to access art and to become artists, to make careers out of art. There's a reason why so many actors that you see on your screens, you fucking look at their Wikipedia pages and their parents have blue Wikipedia links, and they're like, actors themselves, famous themselves, producers, or fucking the parents were like investment bankers or whatever. Why so many musicians have now just got parents who are who have access to music. There's a reason why when I went to the Edinburgh Festival a few years back and saw one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, where I absolutely knew the people were posh, and turned out that their parents owned a series of restaurant chains, because culture is becoming increasingly foreclosed only for the people who can afford to pursue it, and that is not most people. There's a reason why so many new bands are so sensitive about the fact that they come from extremely privileged backgrounds, have parents who are wealthy, who went to private school, and it's because they know that they have their position, even if the industry is hard, even if they worked hard for it, their position is still predicated on the fact that other people are being excluded. Even basic things like look at watching with Neil and I about two struggling actors, Paul McGann and Richard E. Grant, two struggling actors who could previously, in previous generations, could have survived on the dole. Even if it wasn't nice, they could still survive on it. And you can't do that anymore. And because art, like Deb Howell's saying, art is for the people who are rich. The rest of us is for working. You can't make art unless you are rich, and that is why we have YouTube channels now. Isn't that great? Ending on a high. We're ending on a high note, talking about the death of culture and in the country. Probably most obvious with bands. I think it's often most obvious. It's obvious. I think most obvious with actors. Bands, it is obvious, and you can see it. You know what? This is something that is confusing to me. The way that the immense reaction that goes against the suggestion that a band that is being heavily promoted these days is in some way like a industry plant is really strange to me, because it seems like we've, like, when I was young, when I was like a kid, we all knew boy bands, all these bands, a lot of the time, like the Kooks and boy bands and shit, were industry plants. We knew that they were basically that like it wasn't controversial. Like there were Simpsons episodes about it. You know, this is superliminal advertising. Like it's a well-known phenomenon. Fucking Westlife, Boyzone, all these bands. Like they were an industry plant just means that it's a group of people who are promoted heavily without an organic fan base by the industry, and it's not like and so many bands are like that. It's just a fact of the industry. It's just like a lot of the time how the industry works, but people are very, very prickly about that. Backstreet Boys, yeah, of course, same. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, fucking all these boy bands. It's just a fact of the music industry. They, like, music is a product, a commodity that they sell. So you find a group. Maybe you go out and you find someone that's new and untested, and you heavily promote them. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that people are fake. It just means that that's what's happening, and oftentimes the people who are picked are reflections of what is sellable, and obviously what is sellable in a marketplace which is racist is often particular types of people, particular white people, misogynistic as well, in the way that these people present themselves, and the different ways in which culture wraps around social justice issues. Capitalist culture wraps around social justice issues, trying to sell particular ideals. And there's just like a really strange prickliness that seems to have emerged, where people are suddenly like, oh, no, it's absurd to suggest that some bands are industry plants. They, that's just it's so that it's absurd to suggest that, and you're just like what do you think the music industry is? Like, the music industry is built on this. It's relatively rare to find a band which develops, like, the indie music scene is fucking dead. Like, it's fucking dead. The indie music has been completely subsumed within a corporate machine. So obviously there's so, like, the industry is pushing these folk. It's really strange. I think people should, like, you're allowed to like a band that is an industry plant. It's not a moral judgment on you. It's not even a moral judgment on the band themselves. It's just the band is lucky that they were picked up by someone quickly. It's just like a fact. Have I heard of Ren? Oh my god. Oh fuck me. Oh, this might be good. We're gonna yeah, I've heard of fucking Ren. Bizarre. Ren is fucking bizarre to me. Like, I keep getting Well, I crack open another beer before we talk about Ren. Let me crack open. I'm gonna crack open a fucking cider before we get into Ren, because this might take a while. I mean, first of all, on the venues closing, horrible news last week was Jazz Bar in Edinburgh, which is one of the best nightclubs in Edinburgh. Always had a live music venue. It was always great fun. It's a club I've been going to since I was old enough to go to clubs. Fucking brilliant. And it's finally closed down. And another sign of Edinburgh's decaying nightlife and live music scene. Jazz Bar closed down because it's definitely COVID didn't help, and then a pipe burst, so they couldn't keep it open. But it's just tragic. Edinburgh's losing all of its cultural institutions. The film house was lost. So many bars are getting closed down because people are moving into areas like the Grassmarket, central areas, and then complaining to the council that there's music playing. Completely absurd to move to an area like that and then try to get the bars and the live music venues that have been there for 50 years closed down. So yeah, but rain, fucking rain. So I am convinced. I'm convinced that rain is an industry plant, 100%, because I have been getting not just adverts for him on my TikTok for ages now, for months, for a year maybe. All of the same one song, and then getting all these American reacts to white boy rapper fucking adverts all the time, these TikTok reacts, American reacts to white boy rapper, and they're like, whoa, this is amazing, I've never heard anything like this before. And I'm just sitting there you're fucking lying, you're absolutely being paid, because there's no fucking way all these people like this guy, because he sounds like a fucking donkey. He sounds like a donkey. He does the worst white boy rap I've ever heard in my life, and it's and he puts on these weird this weird fake, definitely in terms of cultural appropriation, definitely cultural appropriation of London black artists, but does it in this just awful way, awful music, and with an acoustic guitar. It's like Scroobius Pip, but worse. And I just can't get over every new time this guy pops up. I'm like, this is shit. This is shit. Why am I getting this? It's like, oh, a song, this is the blood. It's so bad, and I cannot believe that he keeps getting promoted to me. There's American. I don't sound like a donkey. I if anything, I drone too much. Sex Pistols and all that stuff, definitely. Violet, I thought you were calling me, saying I sounded like a donkey. No, John Lydon kind of sounded like a donkey, yeah. John Lydon, that's a man who's a piece of shit. Though they were, yeah, of course they were, pushed by certain indie music ventures. The Ren fucking characters, one of those things that's I just can't understand how anyone would it's one of those, a lot of music I don't like that I'm I get why people like this, I get why people vibe to it. I'm no Taylor Swift fan, but I understand why people like Taylor Swift. Makes sense to me. But this guy, I'm just how are you listening to this? And are you not annoyed about how clearly he's like ripping off fucking black London grime culture and making it into the shit acoustic fucking donkey rap? The worst. So yeah, I don't like Ren, and I really hope he doesn't become successful. I really hope he doesn't, because then I'm gonna have to listen to this terrible music. I'm gonna have to hear this terrible music, and every time I see a, American reacts to white boy rapper, I'm just gonna die a little bit inside, and I'm gonna be like, this is it. This is culture's death. In a million react videos to white boy rapper. I'm afraid the novelty of a white boy rapper wore off 30 years ago, and it's not interesting. You need something else. Just do something else. You're not good. Just do something else. So yeah, that's why I think of Ren. There's so much good UK hip hop. Like, fucking listen to if you want UK rap, you cannot go wrong with Lil Sims. Lil Sims is fucking brilliant. You should all be listening to Lil Sims. That's some fucking good rap. She's fucking brilliant. As much as Young Fathers rap, they're fucking brilliant. Great bands. Do fucking great music. Interesting mishmash of different stories and cultures coming through music, and hip hop, rap, fucking Afro beats. With Young Fathers, you've got some like post rock influences, which is a big part of Scottish music culture as well. It's fucking brilliant. So many. Little Sims is fucking brilliant. All these great artists. And there are things that we don't need. We don't need that. We don't need a white boy rapper. We've got so much better things. We don't need it. Listen to Wretch 32. Fucking do anything else. We don't need a donkey man. God. So I'm sorry to who it was that brought up Ren and then said that they were a fan and then I just shat on. Sorry about that. I really don't like him. Yeah, with that music rant and me alienating fans of the channel, we will draw the stream to a close. Thanks for coming. We lulled a bit in the middle there, but then we got back with me getting mad about music I don't like. But yeah, thanks for coming. I think in the next, it will be about a month until the next stream, because I think I'm going to be away in 2 weeks. But I will see you next time, and thanks for coming, and I'm sorry if I insulted all of your music and people that you like. We'll do better next time. If you haven't watched the video yet, please give it a watch and give it a share, and hopefully it'll do better soon. See you later.